Hi all, Mr. McRae here. New video. This time it's going to be on functions. All right. We talked about it probably about a month and a half ago. A little bit about functions. We started doing some stuff like f of one equals 2x plus 1, and then we basically plug in the x1, and then we found the value of x, which would be like 3 in the situation. Okay, so we did stuff like that. Now we're going to really get in depth in functions, really start talking about it. Okay, so we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the mapping of functions. Okay, mapping meaning that mapping meaning that is it a function or not? How do we determine a function? We determine a function. And then we're also going to talk about it in terms of the domain and range as well. So what is the domain and range and how that associates with the function itself? Okay, so those are the two big topics today. So again, we're going to really talk about what is a function, the mapping, how do we determine if it's a function or not, and then we're also going to talk about the domain and range. Like before, we just talked about it in terms of just finding the value in the output. Okay, so let's look at the first scenario. This is a great way of trying to understand functions, okay? So right now we have, what if we went to the store, okay? We went to the local convenience store and we have like 17 different, there's like 17 different styles of Cheetos, okay? I don't know which one's your favorite, okay, but my daughter loves the Flaming Hot Cheetos and stuff, so I that's why I chose this, okay? So what do we know about Cheetos when we go into the store? Now, if we go to the store, Cheetos always has a price, right? So this one could be like $1.99. This could be $2.19. The baked one could be 99 cents because that's trash. Okay, and this could be $1.39, and this could be $1.49. This other style of Cheetos. Okay, so what do we know about this? That basically, when we go to purchase a bag of Cheetos, we're going to pay a certain price every time. Okay, so that's what a function is. Okay, a function is basically an input, which would be the Cheetos, and the output, which would be the price itself, and that in whatever you pay is going to be the money that you come out with. So the item and then the price associated with the item would be a function. Now, when would it not be a function? Okay, so when does it get confusing? All right, so let's think about it. Now, if I did the Flaming Hot Cheetos, right, and I went into the store and I bought it and I want to buy them, right? What if they had two prices on them? Okay, so basically they have $1.99 in one of them and the other one has $2.19. What are you going to do in the store? You're going to argue with the store manager, like, what's the real price of Cheetos? It's $1.99 and $2.19, and you're always going to argue to the lowest price of $1.99 because that's what you want to save money. So that's when you would have a function. Okay, so basically, if one of the outputs goes into two prices, okay, that means that this is not a function. All right. So again, it's a function if the output goes into one input, and if they go an input goes into two outputs, it's not a function. Okay. So that's the two ways to determine that. We'll talk more about that as we go along in the process if we don't understand it. Okay. It's probably the best way I can try to think about explaining it. All right. So now here's another question. What if the Flaming Hot Cheetos now has the same price as the $1.99 Cheeto with the popcorn cheddar Cheetos? Okay, so they all have the same price now. Okay, let me change them all. Okay, put this one and this one. They all have the $1.99 price. Okay, is that a function? Boom. And then we go all the way down, boom, here this way. So they all go down to $1.99. So every kind of Cheeto is $1.99. Would that be a function? Well, yes, it would be a function because, again, each output goes into one input every time. Output goes into one input, output goes into one input. So that would technically be a function. So 3 things that we need to learn about today about learning about functions is output goes into one input. If an output goes into two inputs, one input goes into two outputs. Okay, that is not a function. Now, if all the outputs go into one input goes into one output, that's still a function. Okay, so hopefully you kind of get that idea. I could hopefully try to explain that a little better as you go along in the process and you see it work in class and over the next couple of days, and hopefully you can get this down. All right, so let's move on after we see that great analogy by Mr. McRae. I hope you get that. All right, so the next one is, okay, so what is a function? All right, so now I took the time to decipher what is a function. Okay, A function is a relation or corresponding between two sets, x and y, okay, in which each element x is matched to only one element of y, okay, just like I said. So basically a function is one input matched to one output, okay, and that's how it works. If the input is matched to two outputs, then it is not a function, okay? So what we also call, in terms of this, okay, is another key vocabulary term is domain and range, okay? So basically all the set of x values or inputs, okay, are called a domain, okay? And then all the values of y that get mapped to are called the range, okay? So domain and range, or basically input, like I said, and output, okay? Also be called, also AKA f of x, all right? The x portion of it, oh, sorry, that's the x portion of it, oops. Okay, or it calls this the x, and this is also called the f of x, all right? So again, these have some different names. So here's what I'm talking about here. If you don't understand domain and range, what the heck does that mean? So let's go back to the store purchases of Cheetos here. So all these little pictures of Cheetos are called a domain, okay? Because these are what we're going to input in to find out what the value is. So these would be the domains, okay? And then the prices would be the ranges or the outputs, okay? So domain is the input, okay? And the ranges are the outputs, okay? So that's kind of how it goes a little bit, okay? Domain and range and how that works. So let's try some problems. So see if we can kind of get an understanding of how this goes. All right, so we'll move to the next page. All right, we add a layer so we can make sure we can write on it. Keep forgetting to do that. All right, so what we're going to do here is determine if this set or output table is a function. Okay, and then we're going to basically determine the domain and range. Okay, I'm just writing this down as I go. And evaluate, and plus evaluate an equation. Evaluate a function. Okay, so let's look at it here. So we have 3, 5, 4, 5, 2, 7, and 5, 2. Okay, so this is how we do it. So we're going to take all the x values here and all the y values. So I'm going to put 3, 4, 2, and 5. I'm going to put 5. I'm going to put 7 because you don't need to write it twice. So I'm just going to put 5, 2, and 7. Okay, so 3 goes to 5, 4 goes to 5, 2 goes to 7, and 5 goes to 2. Okay, so we got to determine if this is a function or not. Okay, so what do we know? The x values, think about the Cheetos. The x would be the Cheetos here. Okay, the y would be the prices. So again, Cheeto 1 is 3, and it goes to 5, so that's a function. 4 goes to 5, also that's a function because again, remember we said the output has to have the input has to have 2 outputs, okay, to be a function. Okay, not a function. This goes to 2, it goes to 7. 5 goes to 2. So yes, this is a function for function. Okay. Okay. So that would be the first question you would have to ask on the problems that we have. Is this a function or not? And all you have to do is just map it out. Put all your x's here. The y's don't overlap the y's. Just make sure you put your y's here and draw arrows to them to see if it makes a function or not. There's another way to do that as well, and I'm going to show you that way next class. Okay, and that's basically making a coordinate using the graph and then doing the vertical line test as well. Okay, so next thing is we got to evaluate the function. So now we have f is 5. Okay, so what do we know about 5? 5 is basically the x, right? So if we look at this little chart here, we have 5 right here already set up. Okay, so that automatically goes to 2. So that would be its output. So the answer to that would be the y would be 2. And that's all you would have to do in that situation. Be able to determine that. You don't have to calculate anything. All right. So let's look at the next one. Okay, solve for x if f of x is equal to 5. So what does f of x mean? X of x means y. Okay, so where does the y equal 5? Okay, so the x would be 3 or 4. And now, because we know that, because it's a 5, and it maps to 3, and it also maps to 4. Okay, so that would be both of the answers to that question. All right, and that's how it would work. The next one is domain. What would be the domain? So we said the domain is all the Cheetos, right? So that's the whole set of x values. All we have to do is write the whole set. So basically 3, 4, 2, and 5 would be the domain. The range would be 5, 7, and 2. And that would be it. And that's how you would do the question. That's all you would have to do. All right? So let's try another one. Okay, so now we have the same thing. So we have to determine if this is a function or not. We have all the x values and we have all the y values. Okay, I just like to put it on the side. Some people don't need to do that, but I like to put it on the side to make sure I have it right. So 2, -1, 2, and 4. And we have -1, 3, and then we have 6, and we have 2. Okay, so we have an overlapping 2. So I'm actually going to take this 2 out to make this easy to understand and see. Okay, so I'm going to take this little 2 out. I'm going to put a 4 here. All right, so 2 goes to 1, -1, that's once. Okay, -1 goes to 3, yes. 4 goes to 2, and then we have 2 goes to 6. Okay, so is this a function or not? Okay, so what is the rule? Remember we said, think about the Cheetos, right? Cheetos can't have 2 different prices when you bring it up to the store. You're gonna argue with the manager, or you're gonna argue with the cashier. Like, what's the actual price? It's gonna be -$1 or $6. Okay, obviously you're gonna choose the $1. So this would not be a function. Okay, and the reason why is because this output of 2 has 2 different input of 2 has 2 different outputs, -1 and 6. So this would not be a function. Okay, so let's look at this now. We have f of 2. Okay, so how do we determine what would be the value of x? Okay, so we have -1 and -6. Okay, and +6. So technically, this is no solution. Okay, because again, if it's a function, it should have 1 direct output. If there's 2 direct outputs, that means it's not a solution. Okay, that's how it works. All right, so solve for x if f of x is equal to 2. So f of x means y. So y is 2. What's the value? What's the map value of y is 2? What is that going to equal? Well, x will equal 4. And that would be the answer to that. Okay, so again, that's how it works. Not a function, and then you look at the value that's been given to you. Okay, does that map to anywhere else? Okay, and so if it maps to 2 different places, it's not a solution. All right, so let's look at the domain. Pretty easy. All you have to do is write down all the domain is basically writing down all the x values. Okay, or the Cheetos in the situation. So that'd be 2, -1, and 4. I didn't write 2 twice because I don't want to overlap myself and write it again. Okay, so let's look at the range. Range would be -1, 3, 6, and 2. And that would be the answers to those questions. Okay, so again, basically determining if it's a function or not a function. We have some practice problems that are probably going to help you with that and trying to get that opportunity and understanding. We will practice this for a good amount of while, but I think we should be better as we go along in the process of learning this. Okay, all right, guys, bye now.